In the Trenches with Ryan Roxie.
Hello, everybody. Ryan Roxie here, and welcome to another edition of In the Trenches podcast, a live stream edition. And this one is coming to you very specially from Sweden and Finland. You could say Scandinavia edition today, because for the first time in the Trenches history, we have a repeat guest, a part two. We talk about it a lot, about bringing people back for a part two, but guess what? Our episode last time with this man was so interesting, so engaging, that we felt compelled to give you a part two. And I think you guys are excited about it. Just staring at the chat board right now, it's on fire with a lot of supporters and fans that are very excited to do this part two. And who is this part two with? Well, folks, before I say that, I'll say welcome to the show. Make sure if this is your first time listening, just hit that subscribe button and tell a friend and get everybody excited, because we're just still waiting to get everybody into the chat right now. I know when we start right on time, it takes some people a little bit of time to get on their phones and pull their car over and whatever. But it looks like we have a pretty good crowd right now, and couldn't be a better day to do it. So this is our part two in the Trenches episode with none other. You know the legend. Today you're going to get to meet the person in depth, Mr. Michael Monroe. Welcome.
Well, hey, hello, thank you. How are you doing? Rockstar.
Great to have you back, man.
Great to be back. Great to be back. It was so much fun last time. We couldn't just leave it at that. And first time you're having part two, right?
Yeah, I felt the last time we bridged upon so many things, and you were really forthcoming with your answers. And the audience, there it is. You're getting accolades right now on the chat. If you're not just listening to this on, if you're listening to this on StreamYard, or if you're listening to it on Apple Podcasts, or you're listening to it on regular Stitcher or Spotify, get on over to YouTube and check it out. And you need to see Michael Monroe in the flesh. There it is. You got a lot of people. A lot of Michael Monroe fans in the audience, in the chat room. So last time you really were honest, engaging with all your answers. We got through a lot of stuff, but there was a lot of stuff to get done through. So, I mean, right off the bat, where did you want to kick it off with? I mean, because for me, it's always about, we were talking about the one man gang. And this is the newest single, the newest album, the newest sort of venture of Michael Monroe, because you do have a really killer band together. We wanted to talk a little bit about the lyrics of One Man Gang, and let's kick it off from there. Kick it off from there. Apart from the fact that your trenches always reminds me of the Hunter S. Thompson quote: "The music business is a cruel and shallow money trench, a long plastic hallway where thieves and pimps run free and good men die like dogs. There's also a negative side." I love that quote. Now, wait, did you just drop some Hunter S. Thompson on In the Trenches? That could be the first
I did.
time. Wow.
Yes, I did. Nice. And I must say happy birthday to Ian Hunter's birthday. Talking about Ian Hunter, his birthday was on the 3rd, and he's still around, and he's one of the greatest artists and songwriters of all time. To me, he's bigger than Bob Dylan. So anyways, but yeah, Hunter S. Thompson. About time somebody talked about him on your show, right?
There you go. I'll one up you with a little bit of a reference there, because you were just mentioning birthdays. Hunter S. Thompson. Happy birthday goes out to Johnny Depp today. Wasn't the Vegas?
Happy birthday, Johnny Depp too. He's a wonderful guy, a sweetheart. I was talking to Ian Hunter the other day, and he said he'd been hanging out with Jeff Beck and Johnny Depp in London some time ago, and they had a great time slagging everybody off. But Johnny Depp is a sweetheart. It was at the Hollywood Vampire show in Helsinki a couple of years ago, and it was the day after his birthday. That show was, and then also I had this DVD I gave to Joe Perry of me playing the sax with Aerosmith in 1991 at the Hard Rock Cafe in New York, when Steven Tyler asked me to play sax on the big 10-inch record. I had that song they gave me on VHS, and I had it transferred onto DVD, and I never showed it to anybody, but I gave it to Joe Perry. It was like it was to the day, was it 26 years or whatever, it was 1991. So it was that day after Johnny Depp's birthday, that we did that show, and it was great. So I could because I have that. I'm glad they gave me that VHS copy because I've never posted it anywhere. I just have it myself. So unfortunately, can't show it to you now. Joe Perry and his manager has it, and I have it. Those are the only people in the world.
The only 2 copies. I know you show it to me, and then it's going to get out, and then we're going to get banned. Last time we wanted to play some.
I'll show it to you in person. I can show it to you in person when we meet next time.
All right. That sounds. That's a fair enough.
Yeah. So go ahead. Yeah. So music business. I must say, gotta say, didn't I say the quote last time? There was a hair metal. Before we get into One Man Gang, talk about the hair metal. I get blamed for. There was a book about the hair metal, which had all these ridiculous looking bands, and they had a picture of me with not such a big hair, saying a quote that I said in a convention in New York, where they asked me about. It was about the panel was about sex, and I hated it. I wasn't going to go in it, but Little Steven said, "Go ahead and tell him." That you better like sex if you get into the music business because you're going to get fucked a lot. And I meant metaphorically speaking. So that was in that hair metal book. And in the beginning of the book, that quote was from me. And I hope people understand it. I was not talking about, it was a metaphor. Metaphorically, you're going to get fucked by the business, of course. That's what I was talking about.
Another one of the bands that was in that book that you were talking about was a band perhaps that the producer that you were mentioning to me right before we started the podcast produced, right? And
yes.
And he actually he gave you thanks. And the producer in question
he came to actually Rick Browdy, who produced the first album. He came up to
first Poison album.
I didn't know what Poison, the Poison album. You have no idea how many people, came up to me and some years in the 80s saying, "Are you from Poison?" Some kid come up to me, I said, "I'll give you some Poison, brat." No, I said, "But how they would know any different?" But see, to me, phony rock and roll is a crime. I get into that in a minute. But the guy came up to me and says, "Michael Monroe, right? I was at the Ritz, the old Ritz on 11th Street. Remember in New York?
Oh yeah,
great place. I was at the Mason Ruffner show. This great guitar player from New Orleans, Mason Ruffner. I don't know, nobody probably knows him. He was signed to CBS at the time. I went to see his show, and the guy comes up to me and says, "Michael Monroe, right? I wanted to apologize to you about Poison." I said, "What? Put something in my drink?" And he says, "No, the band that when you guys drummer died and you broke up, we took your thing and we made millions, sold millions of records." He says, "Oh, really? Is that what you were trying to do? Hey, man, don't worry about it. You missed the point completely. You didn't even come close. My sleep is untroubled. My sleep is untroubled. I wish you the same. Thank you." And, he's a cool guy, actually. Rick Browdy, we played in LA Whiskey some years ago. I told that story to somebody backstage, and somebody said, "Hey, he saw Rick Browdy at some party, and he had just told the same story, and he thought my answer was so cool that he had to tell the story."
It's a great answer to a question because it's not a slag. It is actually sincere, but it is, when you think about it a second, it's kind of like, huh. It's like that thing when people tell you, I think you were the one that mentioned it, that Wagner said it, when someone's slagging off somebody.
Oh, no, not Wagner, Michael Frandelli. Michael Frandelli, who produced the Not Faking It album, who was the engineer for Billy Idol's Rebel Yell album. He said whenever anybody was slagging anybody off in the studio, said, "Oh, he sucks, doesn't he?" He would turn around and say, "Well, he speaks very highly of you." And that would shut everybody up. Like, everyone's
you don't know how many times I've used that since we did part 1 of this In the Trenches interview. I use that all the time with my team. I think I use it daily with my producer. Nah, he's always talking good about everybody, to be honest.
Yeah, but I mean, when you slag somebody off, it makes you feel like shit anyways. It's much nicer to speak highly of someone. I mean, what was it? Malicious talk indicates weak cause. It's just a fortune cookie, Confucius or something. And also, what was that? Kind words can be short and easy to speak, but their echoes are truly endless, says Mother Teresa.
So wait a second. Have we had Hunter S. Thompson and Mother Teresa in the same 10-minute span? I mean, I'm going to bring you on just to do quotes from now on. This is good, man. I love it.
Yeah, that's another quote. When you stop and think about it, common sense is really not special. Common sense. When you stop and think about it, common sense is really special, not common.
There you go.
That's one. Expertist by, and that's somebody called Bob Piercy, is in Danville, Indiana. Gazette, is that a magazine? I had and then expert advice is great comfort, even when it's wrong. So it's talking about some country's president, And may you have an old Eskimo proverb, may you have warmth in your igloo, oil in your lamp, and peace in your heart. How about that? Anyways, that's what
we were talking about. Lyrics and quotes, and all these quotes that you're rattling off right now are awesome. But the lyrics to One Man Gang also is very important, and that has something to do. And you were talking to me about, politics. Even though you're not a completely political guy, you do get your point across from time to time.
I mean, the truth. It's about telling the truth in your lyrics and raising questions. There's no answers. There's always, you can raise questions and make people think about something maybe that they haven't thought of before, and to spread the sort of awareness of things that you don't have to shut off your brain to have fun and have to be to entertain. Politics and rock don't mix. See, politicians only act based on self-interest. They're only acting, in their selfish ways and egotistically, and therefore nothing ever changes. That's why the world is as fucked up as it is. But musicians can really make a difference, and I think in songs, lyrics, you can, say things that also. It's good therapy, letting it all out too. Telling the truth and telling how you feel about stuff, and I'm not afraid of Nobody can take away from me what I have, and I'm, I don't care what you think. I don't give a shit if you don't like me, like it says in one of our songs too. It's just, the one I was talking about last time, the pitfalls of being an outsider. But One Man Gang, we're apparently last time we played videos, it screwed up the internet. I mean, the picture, right? There was a problem with that?
What happened was, we got a little bit banned because we're showing too much of the clip and stuff. So I kind of wanted to break down the lyrics and get a little bit into the lyrics instead of showing the actual video. So because I think
that's cool.
More important to take your perspective from it, right? Let's
do that now. Like in One Man Gang, there's one of my favorite lines is in the song One Man Gang, the title track. Thank you. That's the cover of the album. Yep. I ain't walking on water, but I know a trick or two. That's like Jesus walked on water. I don't know how to do that, but I got a couple of tricks up my sleeve, And everybody in the heart of the city, from the heart of the city to the out of the way, everybody's pissing on their own parade. Everybody's pissing on their own parade is about how people vote for Trump and Brexit and stuff like that, and then they complain how everything's all screwed up. That's what that's about. And the lyrics are just as important as the music, I think, to me. Music has to have melody, but, lyrics, to me, they've always been very important. And I was asked to I do some shows acoustically and stuff. Somebody asked me to do Man with No Eyes. I was like, Jesus, that's a hard one to do acoustically. I'm doing a gig on Saturday when I'm playing that. But there's the second verse, we got famine while you feast. We got new kinds of disease, and it's so hard to make ends meet in the belly of the beast. Just when you think you got it made, you get caught in the net. I didn't even know about the internet didn't exist then. So how did I know there was going to be an internet? You get caught in the internet. So I must be a bit of a prophet then, eh? No, but yeah, that's the lyrics have been excruciating. I mean, especially when I started my solo career, inspired by Steve Bader's The Dead Boys, The Lords of the New Church, especially Open Your Eyes, that song. I mean, those lyrics are just like.
What was the quotes from Steve? What were some quotes from Steve that made you say, hey, this guy's special. This is a guy that I kind of really looking up to and want to follow in those footsteps?
Well, no compromise, no regrets, but hang on, let me see. Hold on one second.
You're going to get your phone? Okay, so there it is.
Let me just, because I was going to sing the Lords of the New Church were going to have a reunion at the Viva La Rock Awards that were canceled, that were postponed till next November. I think it's November 18th. And I was going to be doing Steve Bader, Steve Bader's, I was going to be the singer.
Yeah.
On that at the show.
Was it going to be Rat Scabies as well?
Rat Scabies? No, that's the Damned. It was for Brian. Yeah, but it's not far because Brian James, the guitar player of Lords of the New Church, was the Damned's original guitar player, and he wrote the first Damned album, which has the first ever punk song, New Rose. which was covered by Guns N' Roses on the Spaghetti Incident. And Brian James was going to have a Lifetime Achievement Award or Pioneer Award at the Viva La Rock thing. And we were going to do a set of Lords of a New Church songs and a few of the Damned first album, New Rose, and a couple other ones. And therefore, and Open Your Eyes was this song by Lords of a New Church, which had, check these lyrics out: video games train the kids for war, armies shaking high fashion stores, law and order's done their job, prisons filled while the rich still rob, assassination politics, violence rules within our nation's midst. Well, ignorance is their power tool. You only know what they want you to know. The television cannot lie, controlling media with smokescreen eyes. Nuclear politicians' pictures show the acting's lousy when the blind don't know. Open your eyes, see the lies right in front of you. Open your eyes. They scare us all with threats of war, so we forget just how bad things are. You taste the fear when you're all alone. They're going to get you when you're on your own. The silence of conspiracy, slaughtered on the altar of apathy. You got to wake up from your sleep, because meek inherits earth 6 feet deep. Open your eyes, see the lies right in front of you. Fucking genius, hey? That's Steve Bader's 1982.
That song, yeah, you're trying to tell me that song wasn't written in 2020, right?
That was written in 1982.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Steve Bader's, I got to tell you, he was something else. He's the unsung hero of rock and roll that nobody knows much about, enough about, because he was Russian Roulette, an amazing song. That was on the first album too. And New Church, that was the song New Church, that was like wear the uniform of your gang. I was when the heroes have all died away, priests and politicians have all lied away now. Actors, after all, were only acting. Church killed knowledge, took the world a slave. Join the new church. You got to walk it, man, just like you talk it. Wear the uniform of your gang. Purpose in life is just for living. Dream merchants' fantasies are real, so real. Divide and conquer. That's their game. There's Trump for you. Divide and conquer. Right? That's the game. That's their game. Beneath the hair and clothes, we're really all the same. They threaten our lives with nuclear war. Going to crucify us just once more. Join the new church. Be a lord of the new church. Hey, truth can't be found on the television. Throw away youth. You got to take a stand. Music is your only weapon. Spanners in the works. Go start your gang.
If you're just tuning in right now, hold on.
Gang.
Holy shit. Hold on, Michael. Take a breath. Let me get my words in right now. If you're just tuning in right now, thank you for joining up on a live stream edition. We are definitely having some spoken word with Michael Monroe. It's part 2. I told you this wasn't just going to be your regular, normal, hey, great, we've seen everything you've done. Let's go walk through the history. No, you're going to get to know the guy and obviously get to know a little bit of Steve Bader's too. I have never heard that many lyrics of Steve Bader's, and now it makes me want to go on and dive down that rabbit hole as well.
Check out especially the first album, Lords of a New Church first album. It says the truth is the sword of us all, and they had the dagger that actually, later on, remember Lip Service that guy drew. Had Lip Service clothing. They had that logo. That was actually the Lords of a New Church album had that in the back of the album. Hang on, let me just one sec, please.
You got it? All right.
Well,
I remember, just sort of a side note, Tail, give me full screen, Vic. I was had the band Electric Angels. We actually used a knife. Our original logo was a knife going through the planet Earth. And there's Michael's back. But so that original logo, we had that knife going through the world. That was Electric Angels' first thing. We sort of borrowed it. We paid homage to it from an old episode of Star Trek. It's called Opposite World, or the opposite.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But it was that sort of knife, and there you go.
And I asked Steve that. Don't you mind that guy's ripped off your logo? He says no, it does. It's good promotion. So he's got a bunch of stuff. So I got this is a Lip Service. Actually, this is a Lip Service vest. I was going to wear this at the show, at the Lords of a New Church show.
You will. It just got postponed. It's coming back though. And your rock and roll knowledge saved me on my faux pas of Rat Scabies. I love it.
Rat Scabies I love. He has some classic lines. We auditioned Rat Scabies for Demolition 23 when we started the band. I was with me and little Steve, and Steven was helping me out. What happened was me and Sammy Alpha had on bass in New York. We were doing this, and before we got Jay Henning on guitar, we were trying out drummers, and I was talking to Rat Scabies.
I want to set the stage first. I want to set the stage for this because this is a great segue. I mean, I still would I love going off on whatever tangent we end up going on to, because anything you say is gets really interesting really quick because you're passionate about it. But we said last on part one, we sort of, I opened up a little bit of can of worms with Jerusalem Slim, but then we tried to close it. And I said, even before, I said on part two, we're going to sort of move from what happened after Jerusalem Slim. You started this project called Demolition 23.
Okay, let me please. Okay, if I can do that in the right sequence, and after I will get into that if you allow me to tell this. First of all, to finish wear the uniform of your gang, like Steve said in the Lords of New Church with that logo. I had these printed for my band. All of us guys, the last tour, the one-man gang for the album, we had these colors. And my friend who makes my clothes, he actually, the original one was this. This is leather. It's handmade. All these details. Check it out. All the teeth and everything is sewn by hand. And this is of leather.
Is this for band members only, or can the street team get it, or can the Michael Monroe fans get it as well?
So far, nobody else has it except my band. But this, nobody has. This is my own leather one. This is the one I wear on the album cover. But these I had made for my band. I had these are embroidered. But my idea for the tour, for the next summer tour, would have been that the fans could buy a T-shirt with this on the back, and this I still would like to do. But now that everything's changed, we'll see what happens. But that was the uniform of my gang, and the thing is, as everything with Scabies, well, let me just say this: everything got canceled. We were going to be opening up on a couple of weeks ago, actually 1.5 weeks ago, on May 29th. We would have opened up for Guns N' Roses in London, and on May 26th in Munich. And those got postponed for a year now, and everything's it's a shame. But I was just emailing back, exchanging emails with Slash last week, and it was really cool because he said we'll try to keep everything intact for when we reconvene a year from now. But he said, all things considered, you put out one of the best rock and roll records of last year, so there's that. Thank you. That made me feel so good.
Slash's favorite. I mean, he still uses those words. All things considered, that's one of his best quotes. So. Really? Oh okay. Yeah. He would always say that.
With Scabies, so what happened? Scabies, when he was, he came to audition for the Demolition 23 album, which we'll get to how we got to that after the Jerusalem Slim. Little Steven produced. As we were putting this band together. Scabies, I was on the phone before we even got Jamie Clark on drums. I was on the phone with Scabies and actually checking out the lyrics for the love song, the Damned's love song, which are really great. He wrote them when he was on the train, and it's really, really smart. So he said, "So how you doing, Precious?" He called me Precious because I had this badge that says, I used to have this badge that said, "Fuck off, I'm too precious. I'm too precious, fuck off." So he loves me, I love him. And so he said, he can't, it's just, I said, well, what we're doing, we're putting together a band and we're just looking for a drummer now. He says, "I'll be over tomorrow, mate." So he got on an Air India flight, and I called Sammy. I said, "Hey, Scabies is coming over. He wants to, let's try him as a drummer." And little Steven was really into the punk thing then, because I took Steven to see Iggy Pop for the first time, and I bought him the Great Rock and Roll Swindle, the movie, the Sex Pistols movie on VHS for Christmas once, and he was like, he loved it and really got into the punk thing, and he thought, I said, Scabies is a punk rock legend, man. He says, "Okay, cool." So I played him a little bit of the Damned, like Machine Gun Etiquette, and Scabies is all over the place, like "Oh yeah, he's coming over." "Yeah, he's on the plane right now." Okay, but it was because Scabies, to me, he would have been my first choice for Hanoi Rocks when Razzle died, but to me, it's like he's born to play with the Damned. He's like Keith Moon. He's a Keith Moon of the punk wave. So he came and we had a great time for a week. He slept on Sammy's couch for a couple of weeks, and we played. I still have 2 audio cassettes of me on vocals and harp, Little Steven on guitar, Sammy Affa on bass, and Scabies on drums, playing a whole bunch of Stooges and old punk stuff and MC5 and jamming, at this rehearsal place in New York. And after about a week, Scabies said himself, says, "All right, this has been great fun, but let's face it, we're not going to end up in a band together." But then he stayed in Sammy's house. He stayed at Sam. It was like a month or 2. He stayed at Sammy's, sleeping on his couch. I remember I was going. He was like, I'll call anybody.
That sounds exactly like Keith Moon, because did you ever hear the story about how Keith Moon was the house guest that wouldn't leave with Alice Cooper? Back in the 70s, Keith Moon came to visit Alice, and he said, "Are you just going to stay out?" And he'd just stay over one night. And like 3 nights later, he's still in the pool room, in the pool house, and he wouldn't leave.
Yeah, it's great. It's like Scabies would get up in the morning. He said, "Oh, what were you doing today?" And I would go there one morning. He was blasting the Slade Alive, the first Slade Alive. It was like blasting out there, and he was like, his classic line. I love the best one he had was like, "I'll call anybody's punk bluff." And then he said, "If Dave Vanian isn't the original goth, then I don't know who is." Well, Dave Vanian, he is actually the original goth. Dave Vanian and Susie and the Banshees, Susie, those two originated the punk, the goth look. Actually, seriously. You look, Dave Vanian's he had such cool style always, and those guys are great. They were in last summer in Japan. I ended up jamming. I got up on stage to sing with them. Captain Sensible invited me up to sing Jet Boy, Jet Girl. But anyways, that's a great Alice story you just told me.
Well, let me ask you this, because I do love this sort of people passing on the torch of rock. I always talk about passing the torch of rock and roll to the next generation. Would you say if there's no Dave Vanian, perhaps if there wasn't Dave Vanian, there's no Ian Astbury, in a sense?
Ian Astbury? Oh, that guy, the Cult, you mean?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Is he really a goth? I mean, they were kind of different. The Cult were called the Love Cult. What were they called originally? Something else. The Southern Death Cult. Southern Death Cult, and they were different. And then they changed the style. They had all of a sudden they sounded like AC/DC and Rolling Stones. So,
on the Electric album, right? That was.
Yeah, I was kind of confused. I wasn't like, I don't trust bands that change it. Like the Sweet, I love them. The second band I saw live, they were great. The Sweet Fanny Adams, 1973. I saw them after I'd seen Slade, and they were fantastic. But before then, they had like Bubblegum Pop, Papa Joe, and all that. So I was kind of like, why this change of style? But I don't know. Ian Astbury, I actually met him once. I remember he was at the Limelight in the library, and he's
New York City Limelight.
Yeah, because he's Michael Monroe. A lot of people tell me that we look alike, and I was like, must be the hair, because he had straight black hair, and I said, I don't think we have anything in common, man. We go makeup, we wear makeup. That maybe that's it. But God bless him, anyways. But I'm
telling you, I'm going to call you for all my comebacks.
For sure, I think Dave Vanian for sure. If you look at the Phantasmagoria cover, I mean, that's like the hair, the stripe in the hair and the look. Right. He was the vampire, and they took him to sing. I heard the story about the Damned when they got him to sing. He was a grave digger. He was riding around in a hearse in London and lived in a basement flat with the curtains drawn. He was like a vampire, and they said, "You look like a singer. You should be our singer," even though he never was a singer, he never sung. And I love his style. It's really cool. But I think everybody influenced everybody, and we took a lot of from Little Richard to he was the first glam. He was talking about glamorous makeup and everything. Little Richard is the originator in every sense of the word, and that.
Well, you told me that even before that, you told me the story about Miles Davis. Miles Davis wouldn't ask how he played, right?
How he looked, yeah. Just a friend of mine, actually, Sammy Alpha made these T-shirts in Stockholm back in the day after Hanoi. He's this guy, a friend of ours called Yumlo. He started making these, cool T-shirts, black and white with John Coltrane and all these, and Miles Davis. And Miles saw his T-shirt, and he wanted to. He invited him to meet him, and Yumlo was kind of like, "What is he gonna do?" And he was like, "Okay, 20/80." He had to, oh no. He says 60/40. Okay, all right. But he came out, and whenever Miles came to play, Miles was in the Sun City project also. I'm on the same record with him. So singing backing vocals where he played the trumpet on that Little Steven's Sun City project. Miles was so every time he played in New York, my friend Yamalo would call me, "Hey, how you doing? We're playing a show at whatever club he was playing." I always got to go there, go backstage, and Miles was it was great. He was always talking like, "South Africa makes me sick. Can't do nothing. Can't even play." It was so cool, man. And then one night he was I mean, that was those days he played. I saw him in London with once I saw him with B.B. King double headlining, and he was playing with his back to the audience. He was really, like he was quite bitter or cynical and stuff, and for many reasons. But Miles was then that time he was very open and he smiled to the audience. He had these cool red horns and stuff, his cool suits, and he came off stage one night and he said to his right hand man, he said, "So how was I?" And the guy says, "Oh, you played great tonight. You were fantastic." He goes, "No, I didn't mean how did I play? How did I look?" Of course I play like a genius, you know. How did I look? My new horn, my new outfit, you know. So that's what it was about. But to get back into I heard another funny story. Yeah, well, another funny story. Another funny story about Miles Davis. He was like my late wife, Jude Wilder, was Hanoi's product manager at CBS, and she heard a story. It was Miles Davis was signed to CBS back in the day, and there was only one guy he would talk to, white, of course. And it was his contact to the label, and the guy went to visit him at his house. So he was at Miles's house, and Miles said, "I'll be right back." In the afternoon, he just took off, left him there. It was like sometime in the morning. Locked him up in his house, and the guy was stuck there for the whole day till like late at night. It was stuck in Miles's house. Then Miles comes back. "Oh yeah, hi, how you doing?" Like nothing had happened. He just locked him up in his house, in his apartment. It was amazing. It was like, wow. So he, of course, he was a funny character. But, Miles Davis, Bette Davis. Let's not even go there. Bette Davis, one of the most amazing funk. You know Bette Davis, right?
Tell me more about him. No, I don't know about.
No, her. It's a woman singer.
I thought you were talking about Betty Davis with the actress. So I was completely.
No, Bette Bette Davis. She was married to Miles Davis for some time, and then they got divorced. But she made these 3 great records. Funk. There was a great documentary of her too on TV some time ago. Check out F-U-N-K. Check this song, F-U-N-K, Funk. Check that, A Nasty Girl. Ain't nothing but a nasty girl. That's some funk for you, man. If you don't know that, you got to check out Bette Davis. The funk, she made some killer stuff, and she was, I think somebody said, was Miles Davis who said that she was Madonna before Madonna and Prince before Prince and all that, and she was incredible. But she kind of
obviously. Prince might have gotten some sort of nasty girl. He might have gotten Vanity Six's single from that, right?
Check out Bette Davis. Everybody should check out Bette Davis. Those records, the Nasty Girl, the records, and just Google F-U-N-K, Funk. That is already there. It's a great one. So for sure, has influenced everybody. But she disappeared off the scene. Her father was very important to her, and then when her father passed away, I think after that she passed on. After her father passed on, she disappeared from the scene and kind of is keeping to herself. She's still alive as far as I know, but she's not in a public eye. Check out, there's a documentary that I saw on TV they showed in Finland on the YLE Tema channel, which they show a lot of cool stuff there. Check it out. It's got to be on the internet somewhere. Right. So but if we get back into my career, then Demolition 23. Right now,
hold on. Just hold a thought for a second, Michael, because I think you're breaking the internet. I think we're going to almost break the internet because, folks, for those of you listening, we're going to give it a chance to let Michael's Wi-Fi catch up to him because he's speaking at the speed of light, and I love it because the knowledge that he drops, the stories that he drops, are always so entertaining. I don't want to say there's going to be a part 3, but you know what? We're really campaigning for one at this point. But hold on, folks. If you are just joining in on Live in the Trenches podcast, you got us here on Facebook Live as well as YouTube Live. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We are here with Michael Monroe, and he is telling us a lot of great stories, educational stuff, plus some music. And we talked earlier that perhaps he'd have his piano there. And
you like these lights, right?
The lights. Oh my God, what else is he doing? All right, this is awesome. I got the producer in the background. The producer in the background, Vic, is going crazy. He's going thumbs up on the piano. Michael, can we have a little bit of a musical break right now? Please entertain.
Okay, here we go. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's Alice Cooper, right? Yeah. Yeah. Gone for 14 days. Could have been gone for more. You know, did you know about? Did you see my
Yep. CDE. Yeah.
You know, yeah. And so in that, did you know on the record when there's that explosion? You know how they made the explosion?
Why would I know? I only play in the band for over 23 years. You're going to tell me what? How do they do that?
Well, I read it in Michael Bruce's book. When Michael Bruce had a book, Normal Mr. Nice Guy was called. He told the story that they had a fizzy, like an Alka-Seltzer, that they dropped in a glass of water and recorded that, and then slowed down the tape. So it was like.
That's a cool Bob Ezrin. It sounds like a cool Bob Ezrin studio trick. Right?
Yes, absolutely. And then he reveals a lot of cool stuff, like with the thing that when in Be My Lover, when there's that still on my own, that long thing, then it goes two sticks. It's Neil Smith is dropping a drum. He drops a drumstick. That's where that little click is from.
Aha,
it's not drumstick. He dropped the drumstick. That's what the story is. And when in the studio, when Ezrin played this part, which was written by Bruce, Michael Bruce had written this part, this beautiful part. When he did this. So then everybody sitting quietly in the room. Everyone says, "Wow, Bob, that was beautiful." Michael Bruce stood up and said, "Thank you. I wrote it," and walked off the room. I was so nervous. I fucked up. I'm sorry. I messed up. I couldn't really do it well.
That's all good. I just love the fact that you're inviting us into your. What is this room that we're recording this podcast in? Is this sort of is this your man cave? Is this your music room?
Man cave. Fuck that shit. Sorry, I'm not into man cave. Where's the woman cave then? Huh?
Yeah. All right.
You're talking to a feminist, man. Don't forget.
Right. I love it.
I don't need a man cave. I don't need to prove my manhood. I love my wife, and she's the most important thing in my life, and my cats, and
sweet.
That's what I want for my birthday. I want them to be healthy and alive. I want health and happiness, and that's all I ask for. Material things don't mean that much. I can play something else. How about that? Yeah. So here I kind of work here. There's
as a true feminist, the rest of the house is the woman cave, I guess. Just you have that room though, because I see that's your room in the back. Is there a Michael Monroe cardboard cutout in the back? Is that
just one of them? Yeah, I'll show you. Me, myself, and I. Hang on.
All right. This is actually for those of you that are just listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. You got to make your way over to YouTube because Michael Monroe just put another cardboard 6-foot version of Michael Monroe up next to him.
Back on States, I had this from the record label made this, but check this out. The first ever 3D picture disc from that Hanoi Rocks had. We had, you can't see the 3D effect, but this was the first ever 3D picture disc
that came out. Man.
Yeah, it was I think it was Don't You Ever Leave Me, and the other side it was from the Two Steps from the Move album. This is somebody else's car. My saxophone on top there. I don't know whose car it was, but we did the session, and this was I had the glasses even.
To sort of tie things together, because that musical interlude that you very eloquently played, that was a little bit of Stephen and Michael Bruce's musical interlude to a Bob Ezrin produced Alice Cooper record. But Bob Ezrin also produced Two Steps from the Move. And that's what I'd like, your experience with Bob Ezrin, did it have something to do because you guys all were Alice Cooper fans?
Of course,
choosing Bob Ezrin?
Yes. That was actually Second Coming and Ballard Dwight Fry from the Love It to Death album, which was the second rock album we got in my family when I was a kid, after the Led Zeppelin 2. And that was the interlude between, it must be one of my favorite Alice Cooper songs. You know, those two together, they go together, right? So Bob Ezrin, hold on, let me put this back. Hold on.
You know what, Dave Rattenbury, every show should be like this one of the. I don't have enough energy to compete with this every single show, man. This is because I'm on the edge of my seat, just like you guys are in the chat room. I'm sure, just like hanging on the words, like, okay, what sort of knowledge am I going to get? What sort of story am I going to get? And there it is. Yes, we all know that
my 3D glasses left. Correct.
And that's not a man cave. No, that's a definition of a man cave, but it's okay. It's a unisex cave, I guess you could have.
So yes. Oh, sorry. Was I?
There you go. I hear
yes,
cops. You got Finnish cops in the background.
Cops? Yeah. The cops are coming. Everybody's a very good friend. You know. Yeah. The cops are cool here, though. They love me.
Good.
But the thing was, sorry. Yeah, it's kind of like New York almost, right? Same kind of siren. So in any case, Bob Ezrin for sure. I mean, that was at the time. He was the producer. It was like I thought if he wants to produce this, that'd be amazing because the Love It to Death album, $1 Billion Babies, Killer, all those albums are amazing, genius, and they had a great relationship with Alice. And when we heard, you know, that Bob was interested in producing us, I was like, wow, he wants to produce us. And we really needed someone like that there at the time. And we were actually even going to do Under My Wheels. We were planning to get Alice. Bob was trying to get Alice to come sing Under My Wheels with us. We were going to do a version of that for Two Sisters on the Move. This was in 1984. The album came out.
Around the Bend or up around the bend. Did that come before or after the Slade? That
was on the album. Up Around the Bend was after the album was done. The song Two Sisters on the Move never made the album. The title came from a song that Ezrin said that's the sickest song he's ever heard. Because even though it's like a rock riff, and so that came off the album, and the record label says, "I don't hear a single, man." Of course, and heard that. Yeah, and you know, Don't You Ever Leave Me, you know. So we were on tour in Germany at the time, and Bob was mixing the album, and the only cassette we had in the van was Creedence Clearwater Revival live at the Royal Albert Hall. And we figured maybe Bad Moon Rising, maybe Hey Tonight, maybe Upper on the Bend. And then we said, yeah, let's do Upper on the Bend. We decided to cover that. Bob flew over to London for one day, and we were at the studio in Camden Town. There was his studio. We recorded the song in one day and mixed it the next day. And I remember there's that middle part when it goes, come on the right, everything is singing back.
Are you guys doing it in the key of C?
I'm plugging myself all the time. Yeah. It goes in C.
Yeah, it is in C. I got it. Yes. I missed Scabies.
Come on the rising wind. So there's that backing vocal that says, come on the rising wind. Yeah. So the low Ezrin sings the lower harmony because Nasty passed out in the studio. He was trying to sing it. He was in such bad shape that he was like, come on the run. All of a sudden, it was like all cold. So Bob Ezrin was singing. That's why you can hear that kind of come on the rising wind.
Yeah, I said.
But that was good. We had a good, and then it modulates the D. So come on the rising wind goes down back.
Modulations, yeah. There's some good modulations.
Ezrin is genius. So we had him produce the album, and he really was. He was the guy. I mean, he would have continued working with us. He was. I remember.
Whoa! Don't break that. It's all right. It's a Gibson. Is it all right?
It'll last.
All right. So
it'll live.
Hold on, folks.
What happened?
So those of you that are listening at home and you're going, what the hell is happening? You are getting part two. You're getting part two. You're getting full energy. And this is seriously, I'm drinking water. Michael's drinking. I don't think you even drink coffee. You're just always just positive, influx of energy. But we're talking about rock and roll, and there's a lot of you out there that are wondering, how in the hell does Mike, how does he play this high energy? Is he always like this? I can tell you right now that we are tuned to E standard 440 tuning, right? We're tuned to normal tuning, and all those old records, all those old, those older Hanoi records, they were tuned at full tuning because you don't like to go down to drop tuning or anything like that, right?
I don't think there's any sense in that unless you're Black Sabbath, who tuned down to like C or even B. I mean, they have a reason. That was I think Master of Reality album, they started tuning down, and that was like, it's worked for their music. But for rock and roll, I stick to the real tuning because I don't think a half a step makes that much difference. There's one song we had on Sensory Overdrive album was a Modern Day Miracle, and Ginger Wildheart suggested we go down to. It was the riff was like da da da. It was this. And it was like, it was kind of okay for that, but that was the only song we've ever tuned down to. I don't think it's necessary. And if you want to play a harmonica, I'll tell you a story.
It's harder to do when you're tuned down a half step, right? Yeah.
No, you have to have a harp that's instead of D, you have a D flat harp. I have or A, you have an A flat harp. I have one here.
Hold on.
So if you're going into, you go like, here we go. So half a step down. But you know what happened with Motorhead? This is crazy. I tell you, the worst harp I've ever performed live was when Phil Campbell, Motorhead, one of the last shows they ever did, was in Helsinki at the Hartwell Arena, and Phil Campbell said I should play harp on No Class.
Okay.
Like da. So we rehearsed it. I still have, actually, I gotta ask Phil if I can release this, because we rehearsed it backstage, and my wife filmed it with an acoustic guitar, which was tuned to normal tuning because they did the Whorehouse Blues, which they did at the end of the show. That was the regular tuning. So I said to Phil, I said, look, I have a harp at home, which is D flat. I should have a D flat. It was in A. The song was in A. But in their case, in A flat, because they tuned down a half a step. So I said, I don't have a D flat harp with me. So he says, oh no, Lemmy has harps in every key. I said, really? He does? Yeah, he does. So then this guy brings me, I said, okay, oh yeah, bring in the D flat harp. Now I don't have absolute hearing. I can't really tell the difference by hearing it. So I assume I know one of the old Hohner harps that doesn't have any writing. It doesn't. I'm looking, well, I guess it's D flat. I should have compared it because I had a regular D with me. Okay, it must be D flat because the guitar was, I figured that was tuned to half a step down. It wasn't regular tuning. Not knowing this, unbeknownst to me, we rehearsed it. It was going to be great. So by the time the song comes up, I go up on stage and I'm like, holy shit. God damn, it's a regular tuned D harp, and they're playing a half a step down. It was the worst. You cannot possibly play it. And I panicked. I was like, I went to Phil. You cunt! He was like, I'm sorry. Phil
again.
Every time I talk to Phil, he's still almost every time he apologizes. Mike, I'm so sorry that happened. But then I'm not so sorry because that was one of the last shows they ever did, and Lemmy was about a week before he died, actually, week or two before Christmas. So I went to do Overkill. I went to sing the second verse of Overkill. I went crazy on stage in the end, so that kind of my night better. But I went backstage and I took a harp and I said I could play a few notes on that would fit that tuning somewhat. And I went up to, because there's no way back up anymore. I was already on stage, people seeing me, so I had to go back and sort of try to play on that A harp with an A flat key. It was like I could play a few notes really poorly. I was the worst, suckiest harp playing I've ever done. I said, Phil, I've never been so mortified in my entire life. God damn it. You and your fucking tuning down. God. So that was what would happen. But tell you what, show you something cool. You want to see something really cool?
Oh, dude, I'm getting a lot of cool stuff. Hold on.
Look at this Motorhead harp. Can you see that?
Is that an official Motorhead? Is that one of Lemmy's harps that he had in every key except the key you needed?
This is actually the only key he used is D. Yeah, so the only key I got this from them when they made this Motorhead. Now what I need is a Michael Monroe harp.
Of course you do. If there's any harp out there listening right now, Michael Monroe should definitely have his own line of harmonicas. I want to stick with the harmonica. Let me stick with the harmonica genre, because I know that we're sort of going all over the place right now, which I love. You know I love, because I wanted to play one of my favorite Hanoi riffs for you. But
okay, what's your favorite riff?
My favorite, one of my favorite Hanoi riffs was this, you know.
Boiler. Wow.
It used to be always my sound check riff that I'd always used to love to do, and
wow, that's cool. You know, that song was funny because Razzle was singing the lead in "Me She's Me Boiler and I Love Her So," because Bob Ezrin loved the accent, the Cockney accent, and he wanted Razzle to. Razzle speaks in "Don't You Ever Leave Me." He does the speech, and I was forcing myself just to walk through the day, and in "Cutting Corners," he does that speech. London is born in the rain, so I took a ferry to France and all that. That's Razzle's talking, and he actually was so sick to go back to. He hated being in Toronto; it was so cold. He had to go back. Ezrin flew him back to do his parts because he had such a bad cold, but. The Boiler song, we're all singing 4-part harmonies in the studio. We all have our headphones on, and then you see in Animal House, the movie, when they had the fire extinguisher, and they go psh, psh, they wake the guys up. Ezrin rushes into the studio. We're all going like, Ezrin comes in with a fire extinguisher and sprays all of us, and when the foam going, all of the rest of us go like ah. And Razzle standing there like this. Hello, Bobo. How you doing? Doesn't move a bit. And he's all covered in foam. Like,
doesn't miss
Bobo,
a beat.
Anyway, so what happened with Alice Cooper, Bob could not, he couldn't get Alice to come to the studio at the time. Alice couldn't make it. So therefore, we did not record a version of Under My Wheels with Alice. But luckily, at least some years ago, Guns N' Roses did it with Alice. And they did Under My Wheels, which I'm glad somebody did it, you know.
Well, we've done it on stage. I love it, you know, and we actually played a little bit of it last time. But what I wanted to talk about real quick, because one of the comments that came up about maybe 100 comments ago, was there any instruments that Michael Monroe doesn't play? Because you've obviously graced us with the piano today. You played harp. You played a lot of guitar. Did you play any guitar on any of those Hanoi records, as far as acoustic and stuff, or did you?
I played, you know, the Reborn Hanoi. I must say, the 12 Shots on the Rocks album. Me and this guy Costello play most of it, a lot of the guitars, if not most of it. Andy plays maybe half of them, because he was too tired at the end of the day. He was like, you had to catch him in the afternoon. Early in the day, because he started, too many beers and whatever. I was like, come on, man. So I gotta tell you, I don't know if you heard that song. The Moon Martin. God, by the way, rest in peace, Moon Martin. There's another guy who just passed on. Hot Night in Dallas, Bad Case of Loving You. We covered his song Bad News with Hanoi on the 12 Shots on the Rocks album.
Okay.
And there's a solo in the end there. Well, I can tell you this. Fuck it. I'm going to tell you the truth about this.
Yeah, let's go.
It's just something that Andy doesn't know, and he still thinks he plays the guitar at the end of that song, but I did it. Because we had, there's a thing that goes with the harp. It says we gotta have it exactly the same, man. The idea was to go, it's a cool riff like that da 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 at the end of the song, and he so hang on.
Greetings from Peru. You got people watching from Peru, and a couple of titans, a couple of rock and roll titans right now live in the trenches.
Peru. I think Steven Tyler snorted up the whole Peru in the 70s. He said himself. So at the end, there's a harp solo. Now going to using a D harp, going up to a minor scale. That had to be done with the guitar too. So Andy was playing, and it wasn't really happening. So I told the engineer, I said, leave the amp set up. I'll come over tomorrow, an hour before we start, and
Wow.
we'll do it. And I went in, and there's that triplet that I had to punch in to do that because it's so hard to play, even for me as a guitarist. I'm not a guitarist anyway, so I I was just worried because it might have been too much for Andy's ego that I played it. So when he came in,
holy shit! What's happening with the guitar? Be safe with that thing. We need it. You need that guitar. We're gonna use that guitar later. I'm trusting me.
You give me any tip, you bastard! I told him it's okay now. All right. So what happened was, see, that was Andy's revenge. I'm telling you,
it was a little bit. Yeah.
Andy came to the studio. I was like, shit, I hope he doesn't realize it's not him playing. And he was listening to it. And I played the riff with the guitar. The whole ending. I was like, he goes like this. Fuck, I played good. Oh, man.
But did he know or did he not know?
He does not know it unless he sees this now. That's the truth, Andy. And I think it was a better idea. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gotten that part done. You know what, Andy? If you agree with that, Andy, I'll put back on my shades. Thank you.
There you go.
Yes.
You're there first. That's the exclusive.
That is the exclusive. I mean, I tell that story to friends, but that is the truth. I mean, fact was, I had to play a lot of guitars on that. And I played guitar on I had the album called Like It You Dirty. I played all the guitars on that. And the Peace of Mind, I played all the guitars on that because I could. And I was alone in the countryside all by myself. I had no bands. I figured, that was easier to do it myself. And I did play every day and playing at no, Mike answered the question.
Who put that comment up? I mean, yeah, he just told the story.
Yeah, I mean, the truth is, it was too much work, and why drag a guy through a jungle who's going to die when you get there anyway? When you get to your destination, who's half dead already, anyways. So I mean,
wow.
Who hates you for trying to help you? It's like he resents you because you're not as fucked up as he is. So I mean, that was the whole thing. I mean, it was too much, and so many times I said, you really want to stop this? And it came to a point where it's like, I'm telling you this because people ask, are we going to work together? It was like, you're nothing without me. At first, it was great. We got to know each other. We started, we got reacquainted in a way that we never knew each other in the 80s because he had a guard on always. And I allowed the situation to get to a point where he did all the writing and stuff. He always said, I got a better song here. So, okay, fine. I did as much as arranging, and I wrote a lot of lyrics also, which I never got credit for because I didn't care about that. I just want the song to be as good as possible. But, Andy's just hurt himself because, Guns N' Roses, I tell you this, another true story. Slash told me that when they made the Spaghetti Incident album, they include a Hanoi Rock song called Beer and a Cigarette on the album. Okay. They were going to cover that. And imagine the publishing money Andy would have gotten for that. A huge amount of money. $100,000 right off the bat would have been ka-ching. But he had been such a condescending cunt to those guys. He was so condescending and being a total asshole to those guys because they were fans. I heard that Izzy used to follow us on tour, the Two Steps on the Move tour. And Izzy and Axl, I heard they went to even, when Andy came moved to LA, they wanted to, they were fans and they wanted to meet him. And he was such an asshole to them. So when they decided on these songs for the album, they said, fuck, he's such a cunt. He doesn't deserve the money. Slash told me this is the truth. So imagine, I mean, he's just hurting himself. So why be an asshole to people? Because, you get what you get what you ask for. So therefore, it just, because I know, especially with Andy, money means a lot to him, but he's burning all his bridges and it just doesn't make any sense. So that's a
we move on from the topic because you know what? I've been through the posturing sessions with Andy McCoy before in my time. The one great piece of advice. You must be
flattered that we talked about him so much.
Oh yeah, come on, man. We're talking about it. But the one great piece of advice he gave me. Thank you very much, B. I just got myself another glass of water.
Good idea.
The one thing that he taught me was to play with heavier strings back in the day because I was playing with really thin strings, and he actually said, "Hey, You know, and he said it in his condescending way. He said, "What you doing playing with those strings? You know, you got to play with 13s." So I met him halfway, and I moved up to like 11s, I believe, and 12s at one point. So
yeah.
yeah.
Well, Stevie Ray Vaughan played with 13s. You hear that?
Yeah.
I mean, again, Billy Gibbons plays with 7s or 8s or something.
It's with super light strings. I love getting all these guitar tips, but the really cool thing is that you get harmonica tips from the most unlikely of people. And that's the story I kind of wanted to get into, because that was one of our stories that we talked about before. Who was your most unlikely harmonica teacher? Because you know that Steven plays, Alice plays, but who was the one that really taught you some good tricks?
Well, I already knew how to play the harp, and I figured how to play, how to bend the notes. I mean, Andy was the one. I mean, I in many ways I love Andy. I mean, we like brothers. We're after the future, still the best of enemies, or worst of friends, worst of friends. But
best of enemies.
Yeah, but there's a lot of the guy is a part of me and part of my life, and Hanoi Rocks I'm really proud of. And it was really exciting to me to get reacquainted with, like I was starting to say, that we got to know each other when the rebirth of Hanoi that started in 2001, 2001, when my late wife passed away. It was a tragedy, and Andy had fallen off a balcony, which was it was a miracle. He survived, let alone that he can walk. The doctor said he can't walk, and he was in a wheelchair. He worked himself up to the crutches, and then with a stick, and then he's walking today. One of his legs is almost completely made of titanium or whatever. So that whole friendship was for the first time he was, he had no guard on, and we got to know each other in a different level, and it was great, exciting to see. I had some old ideas. We had that song, "People Like Me," which which was an idea musically. I'll get to the harp in a minute, I promise. It was a musical idea was from the 80s. He had a song with except the lyrics were, oh baby, it's hard to understand the thing between a woman and a man. I said, Andy, I can't sing cornball lyrics like that anymore. I rewrote that. I said, so jaded. It was like radio and MTV. You need people like me. And that line was from the Scarface. You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers. Say that's the bad guy. That's rap.
I love it. I love that guy.
It was exciting. It was a necessary phase, and we made the 3 good albums: 12 Shots on the Rocks, Another Hostile Takeover, and Street Poetry, which Connie Bloom and AC Christel were in. That was the best lineup for the band, actually. I think.
I love that lineup. We actually did shows together with that lineup and Alice Cooper. I remember we did some really good shows together.
I think it was one of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then at that point, it started slipping back into that "You're Nothing Without Me," and he was, and I started getting myself, I was, of course, after my wife had passed on, I was in a haze for a year or two, going through a hard time, and using stimulants and stuff to keep working. I kept working. I want to keep working, all the time. Right. Believe it or not, I'm totally straight now. But the thing is that there was a necessary phase, and I was willing to do that the rest of my life. I was committed to that, but it became a nightmare after a while. It's just like, not only drugs and death and girlfriends break up bands. The thing is, when somebody is not getting high anymore, and the other guy is, and there's a resentment that can also cause problems. And it was just hell for me. I just, it wasn't fun anymore. So I said to Andy, let's put this to bed. Let's put the band to its final grade with its integrity intact. Do some farewell tours. We did tour of England, Japan, and in Finland. We did the last 8 shows in 6 days, about 2.5-hour shows every day. And 2 days we had 2 shows at the Tavastia Club in Finland, in Helsinki, where the band started out. And that was my voice, and the last show was recorded as it was for Japanese DVD release, of course.
And you never tuned down in any of those shows. Always standard tuning.
Never. Still never. Yes. No. Never tuned down. No. That's not for my voice. I gotta be able to make it. Even though some say that men's voice is lower as you get, like Leonard Cohen got even lower during his career. But I can still sing. Don't you ever leave me, baby. That's pretty high, But when I learned how to sing, how to support my voice with my diaphragm, my stomach, it's physical. And when I realized singing is physical as performances, as I'm off the air, up in the air half the time on stage and blowing the harp, playing the saxophone, got to be in good physical shape, and it requires that. So that's when I started, exercising.
That's basically your
taking care
workout.
of myself.
That's basically because that was one of the questions that one of the chat room multitude of questions. There's been a lot of great questions. Thank you for asking them. But they were asking about what is sort of a workout regime for you while you're on the road, while you're off the road, and you said straight up, it's the show.
It's a show, yeah. When you're on tour, you do a show every night. That's the best exercise to me because you have the motivation. You got a show and you're like Superman on stage. When you get on stage, it's kind of like life and death to me. It's like you become sort of almost like a Superman, sort of. You're on a different level. It's almost that's how rock is kind of almost religious. You're in a state of mind and the adrenaline's gone, so you don't feel anything. You kind of like you feel it later on at night when you're in bed. It's, oh, whoops, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But really, that's the motivation there because you don't have to kick yourself in the ass. This time when there's no gigs, I really have to I got to stay under 70 kilos. That's my weight. I'm 183 centimeters. I don't know, what's that, 6'2" or something?
Absolutely,
I don't know, but when I'm on tour, I'm between, 67 kilos, 65 I've been to, but between 67, if I go over 70 kilos, I'm like, no.
You're a rail.
So
you're a rail.
I have to, but I exercise at home. I do crunches and series of, this and that. And your inner stomach muscles are, to me, I started having such back pains, about 2007, I had such bad back pains after gigs that I thought, is this it? And I went to some physiotherapists and they showed me some exercises to strengthen my inner stomach muscles, which support your back because my bones have one in, my spine. So some of the fourth vertebrae or something in between there. So that means like I had to, in a couple of months of doing those certain exercises, concentrated on the inner stomach muscles, I started feeling, okay, well, maybe I have a couple of more 20 years or something left. So therefore, when you're off the road, you really have to kick yourself in the ass. And I try to exercise 5 days a week, then take, 2 days off, then do it again. And, that way I got to keep in shape. And it's a good curse, or blessing or whatever. Blessing and a curse because, I have to keep in shape to be able to do what I do for a living. And therefore, hopefully I will live healthy and long life.
Well, check this out, Michael. Oh, yeah, but hold on. I just wanted to say, if you really want to give me a workout, just let's do at least one podcast a week because this is a workout for me. Let me tell you.
Oh, man. So Huey Lewis. Okay. Now, Huey Lewis. Not many people know this, but Huey Lewis is a great harp player. Huey Lewis was, and I want a new drug. I like that song. I remember I want a new drug. Remember that was a Ghostbusters song. Was ripped off from that.
Ray Parker Jr. Yeah.
And they even had that horn kind of thing in the middle. And I think Huey Lewis sued him for that, and he won. Yeah, I think he won like $2 million or something.
He won it. Yeah.
So just as but Huey Lewis playing a show. I was in 1989 after the Not Faking It album had come out in Japan. The New Year's Eve 1989 changing to 1990. Mr. Udo, the legendary promoter in
Mr.
Udo, in Japan, who brought in Paul McCartney when all that weed thing happened and everything, and Led Zeppelin, the Who, and everything. So he organized this concert where the lineup was the Japanese band Loudness or Roudness, Loudness. Those guys are sweet. Loudness, Michael Monroe, Don Henley, Bryan Adams, and Huey Lewis. That was the setup. It was Tokyo Dome, 70,000 to 80,000 people, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. And then we did 3 more shows. We did Nagoya, Kyoto, and Osaka, except Bryan Adams didn't do the rest of the shows. That was just me and Don Henley and Huey Lewis. But Huey Lewis was watching my show, and he came up to me after the show and says, "Hey, I like your stuff." Because I did a Little Richard medley. I had this Little Richard medley with like at least seven Little Richard songs, like really punk and real fast. And at that time, I did that at the Whiskey A Go Go too. That was in 1989.
Right.
So that was really something. I got to find out. I don't know if that's. I can't find the whiskey at the.
Do you have any of those on tape? Do you have any of that? Do you have that medley somewhere on tape?
Yeah, that was released on VHS. There's a Japanese video called "Rock Like Fuck." The Whiskey A Go Go. Yeah, the live at the Whiskey A Go Go, and we did 4 nights at the Whiskey, sold out. And the last night they filmed, and There's a video of that, but I can't find it in the internet. But I did the medley at the Tokyo Dome show, and that I don't know. I gotta find. I haven't had a chance to look for it yet.
Somebody in the chat has to have a copy of it. So Huey Lewis is checking you guys out.
He saw that I played the harmonica, and he was in a band called Clover in the '60s. They were touring America in the '60s. He was the harp player in the band. He wasn't the singer; he was the harp player. So he saw that I played the harp, and he said, "I can give you some tips." And my late wife even filmed this on the camera back then. I have the tape somewhere. I don't know if I don't think the camera works anymore. But she even recorded this on a video of 20 minutes, about 15, 20 minutes. He showed me some pointers. He said he had all the harps. He was using the Lee Oscar harps, which I don't care for much. I use mainly the Golden Melodies or Golden Melody. Golden Melody are my favorites because they kind of they look
Hohner
good and they sound loud.
Harps as well. Hohner, that company.
Yeah, Hohner does the main best harps I have, and most people have the Hohner. I have Suzuki is great too. It's Manji, and they have this fabulous. Look at this. This is metal, all the inside and out. This is metal. See,
right
here.
What are most harmonicas made out of? Is it some sort of wood?
No, yeah, they used to be wood, but now they have the plastic on the inside. It's like plastic kind of. So the wood, the wood lives. It gets swollen and stuff, and it goes out of tune. This is a Golden Melody harp, which looks like a '50s car kind of.
So Michael, on a side note, do you know who gave Clover, Huey Lewis's band, Clover? You know who gave him their big break? That was
who?
That would have been. My God! Now I'm gonna Phil Lynott.
Phil Lynott, yeah. I was just gonna get that too.
Okay.
Phil Lynott's first solo album has a song called "Ode to a Black Man," and he was like the harp on that song, and that is a killer solo. That's amazing. Check out that song. Phil Lynott, or Lynott, however, how do you say that? The Americans say Lynott, and the English say Lynott.
I think it's a Phil Lynott. I say, but maybe I don't know, somewhere.
Anyways, he was a hero. And he saw King's Call about Elvis. You know, King's Call. That is one of my with Mark Knopfler on guitar. Have you heard that?
No, I haven't.
Check that out, man.
All right.
Check out Phil Lynott and King's Call about Elvis's death. An amazing song. And Mark Knopfler plays the guitar. Brian Downey on drums, and him playing rhythm guitar. So, anyways, Huey Lewis. I wanted to show me some pointers on the harmonica, and he noticed I could bend the notes by sucking, which I thought no. When you suck, they go. When you suck in, you kind of bend the notes this way. Oh, hang on. So I thought you can only do that by sucking in. I'm sucking in, but then you can also do it by blowing. Like now, I'm blowing now. Now. I didn't know you could blow and bend the notes. He taught me how to do that. I said, wow. I said, yeah, you can find any note in the harp. Actually, you can find any note, which I tried at that Motorhead show.
You tried every trick at that Motorhead show, it sounds like.
It was crazy. So, no. You go, with your tongue, you go like, it's hard to explain, but it's like, so.
Thin Lizzy helps out. Thin Lizzy helps out Huey Lewis. Huey Lewis helps out Michael Monroe. Michael Monroe, you're helping out the entire future of rock and roll with all these multi instruments right now. What would be the easiest instrument to learn out of all the instruments that you know how to learn? What would it be that you would tell people to learn? Like, would you say sax? Would you say harmonica? Would you say just sing, or would it be guitar?
Well, I mostly play. I play.
You got piano too.
Yeah, I say guitar. Probably I use mostly for writing songs and stuff. I took piano lessons when I was about 5. My mother made me, and then when I discovered rock and roll, I was into classical music at first, but then I discovered rock and roll and Black Sabbath. I figured I could play down, down, down. Yeah, I want to learn more. I wanted to learn more piano. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, so and Hugh Lewis, when I learned to, it was so cool because that way I improved my harp playing. But he also, I was wondering why he played Boys Are Back in set in Japan. He was playing Boys Are Back in Town, and then I realized they were good friends with Phil Lynott, and therefore, so Phil Lynott's solo album. I mean, all that. Dave the Rat is asking a question. Yeah. Somebody asked something before, how many hours do I sleep at night? You know, I was just wake up every couple of hours, and then I try to go back to sleep. I keep waking up at night, but I hardly ever sleep solidly. Maybe 5 hours solid. I'm like, wow, great.
I'm not shocked. For some reason, I'm not surprised.
But I think a guitar is a good one to learn first. You know, guitar is good, and piano. You know,
do you have a number one instrument besides the acoustic guitar that you've dropped like 3 times during this podcast? Do you with your harp? Okay, great.
Harp is my favorite because you can carry it with you, and you can take it, you know, anywhere. And once you learn to play it, it adds a lot of color to any song anywhere, where you can just sort of if you have a little sax on a song or two on an album and a little harp, because everybody wants to play the guitar solo. Yeah. How many guitar players does it take to change the light bulb? 10, 1 to do the job, and 9 to sit around and say, I can do that better.
That's a good one. I'll be using that as well. But I also will be looking for the Michael Monroe harmonica line, because at one point that has to happen. There has to be a custom line of Michael Monroe harmonicas.
Yeah, saxophone. Cool. I'm so sorry. I knocked you down.
Well, I know a couple times, folks. Those of you, Michael Monroe's got a birthday coming up in just a few days.
Buy me a new guitar. There's only 200.
I know that he's not into material things so much, but he might need a new guitar.
Guitars are different. They have a soul. I have my sax. I have 2 red saxes, and the thing is, the sax I have a Selmer from that I used in the Hanoi days, which I play the Million Miles Away solo and stuff. That is actually a Selmer from 1939. It's a really rare one, a silver. I found it when somebody ripped off I had a Selmer alto. I used to play alto at first, and alto.
What is the one that you have? It's the one that you play now, a tenor saxophone?
It's a tenor one. If you give me a minute.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, it's just, guys, we are going so deep down the Michael Monroe instrument rabbit hole at this point. He showed you his piano, his guitar, his harps, and now I think we're about ready to see an official Michael Monroe saxophone. And this might have been the one that's been on a mini of an album, but we shall see. We are going to wrap it up in just a little bit, folks, because like I said, this has been an amazing part 2 of Live in the Trenches. If this is your first time checking it out, hit that subscribe button, and you'll get more and more notifications to check out all of these. If this is your first time checking out part 2 of the Michael Monroe Live in the Trenches, you got to go back and check out part 1 now as well, because I think we're headed for a part 3, if I'm not mistaken. There's a lot of requests on the chat board. You guys have been amazing all day, hanging out, putting in your comments. Obviously, I haven't been able to get a lot of words in edgewise. It doesn't matter, though, because the stories have been worth it all. They're golden. And what do you got? You got the saxophone out now? Is that the red one? Oh, boy. Is that the red sax, Michael?
Yeah. Ain't that a little honey? Oh, say hello to my little friend. Ain't that beautiful? Ain't that a little honey?
Let me see if I got that. If I got that sample right now. Hold on. Say hello to my little friend. How is that? Now that's
all right.
That's our producer taking credit for getting that. How did he get that sample?
Yes, sir. Oh man, I love it. That was fantastic. I love that movie. It's so great. It's such classic. Yeah, say hello to my little friend. I mean, you know what? Slash told me the Guns N' Roses' favorite line from that movie was "Hello," and it says, "This is Marta. Marta, hello." Oh, hang on.
Here we go. Sax time, baby. I love it. Man. It's happening.
There's a little piece of it.
No, I dare any podcast to say that they have as much live music as we have done today. This has been amazing, Michael. Thank you so much for letting us in. I think I undersold it. I didn't overhype it. I said, you know the legend. Now you're going to get to know the man. You've gotten to know the man a bit more with all of his instruments too, man. It's been great, Michael. I really appreciate it. And people are demanding a part 3. Can we bring you back sometime?
Yes, we can. And you know, just to get the to wrap up my career in America was how it turned out after Not Faking It album. Do we have 2 more minutes?
Of course, man. Yes, we have as long as you need.
Thank you. Because great. Because now what we were trying to talk about was they have the Not Faking It album, which was on its way to sell, could have sold millions if it was if it had been taken care of properly. But what they did was they made this commercial on TV, which was every headbanger's ball. They showed this commercial saying Michael Monroe, he's back, he's not faking it, the real thing, the brains behind Hanoi Rocks. And I was like, what? Hanoi Rocks had no brains. That was the coolest thing about the band. So it was like that was spontaneous. Therefore, to me, it was important to people, so I said, that's misrepresentative. So I called the label. I said, look, why do you say this? Why don't you show me this commercial? Because it's bullshit. Hanoi was spontaneous. I thought, if I get famous, I want people to know that Hanoi was for real. It was no phony bullshit. So they said, okay, you don't like the commercial? You want us to pull it? I said, yes. So I thought they were going to make a new one, but they didn't. They said, when you're Bon Jovi,
they pulled the entire album.
They pulled the plug on the whole album, and they let it die. And when they said, when you sell as many records as Bon Jovi, like 1 million, then you can make demands like that. So I figured, okay, I'll be more of a rarity and not be as famous. Maybe that's okay. I'd rather have my integrity intact and be presented the right way or no way at all. So I figured, okay. But therefore, that whole project, the Jerusalem Slim project, came after that because it looked good on paper. Like I said, the guy looked the part, and even though we had to go through lawyers and having meetings, you
had some good vacations.
We never played it.
Think about
we had good times. No,
right,
let me just say, I like Steve. He was a nice guy. We had great times. There's great knowledge in music, brilliant guitar player, and it was just the money thing that ruined everything. I've had
experiences like that myself.
Yeah. I mean, the album was done. I was 700,000 more in a hole with my label because it was my deal. And before, and Not Faking It album, since they pulled the plug on that, I was already like almost 300,000 in a hole. So I owed the label $1 million after those 2 projects in the end, and I had to get off the label. So therefore, I waited over a year till they dropped me, and my lawyer called me one day and says, Michael, they dropped you. I says, oh, that's too bad. I was like, yippee. I called little Steven. I said, Steven, they dropped me. He says, isn't it great? I says, now we can make the album I always wanted, because they wouldn't allow little Steven to produce. Michael Wagner came to produce, which was a mistake, because with Steve, he needs very little encouragement to go all the way to this 2 hands on the neck, do pigeon farming, like Sammy Yaffa calls it, pigeon farming. So then finally we made this. Me and little Steven, we made this album in 2 weeks. Demolition 23. Recorded the music. We recorded the music in 3 days. I did the vocals in 2 days. Little Steven producing, it was easy. It was great because he knew he was. And the drum, the snare sound. Jimmy Clark, finally the drummer Jimmy Clark was fantastic. Jay Henning, a genius, brilliant guitar player. He would have been a superstar. Unfortunately, he took his own life in later years. But I
know Jay from the band Star that you actually were in.
I was in one of the videos, and you know what? He knew the first Alice Cooper albums, the first Bridges for You and Easy Action. He even knew those albums note for note, every fucking song.
Oh, this is good amazing. In your book. Yeah.
Yes, it was. And so what happened, for example, for the drum sound, it was great because Jimmy Clark, he busted the snare skin. It was broken. He says before the next take, he said, Steven, wait a minute, I got to change my snare skin. Steven says, don't do anything, don't touch it. It's great. So we recorded the whole album with the broken snare skin. And as I said, I had Steven there. I did 2 takes of the vocals. Says, okay, that's it. Next. So we recorded the music in 5 days, 3 days for music, 2 days for vocals, 10 songs, mixed a song per day. In 2 weeks, the album was done. It's still one of the best records I've ever made. All so right. that was the best thing that happened. Yeah, but unfortunately, we had no big label, and then I had problems with guitar players. Jay got arrested and couldn't leave America. He couldn't go to Europe. He couldn't get a passport, and therefore, Nasty Suicide replaced him for a while. But then Nasty wanted to leave because he wanted to stop playing guitar, and all this stuff happened. And finally, I got, in the end of the day, the band just got destroyed, and I was really depressed because that was a great new start for me, and then it didn't go the way I was hoping, and all of a sudden I was, I had no band, I had nothing, and I decided to move out of America and moved to Finland in '96, and then I made the Peace of Mind album and the Life Gets You Dirty album, which I'm, by the way, going to remix and put out because it has a lot of good songs, but the mixes aren't that great in the future. So, and then we had the Rebirth of Hanoi from 2000, the decade of 2000. We finished that in like 2009. And when I finally said to Andy, like I said, that, okay, let's stop this. It's no fun anymore. He agreed. So we put the band to bed with its integrity intact. And I happened to meet with Sammy Alpha in 2009. He was playing with the New York Dolls. I was already working on some songs with Ginger Wildheart. And Sammy came to my city where I live now, Turku. I was born and grew up in Helsinki, but I live in Turku. I live here now 20 years. So Sammy was here in 2009 in the summer playing with the New York Dolls, and Steve Conte was the guitar player there too. So Sammy came to me and said, yeah, Steve Conte played guitar with the New York Dolls, the Rebirth. They had a rebirth also. It's funny because we opened for them. I got to tell you this too. It's funny. We played Sweden Rock with them and Finland Blues Rock. And Sammy, my Monroe minutes can last an hour. Okay, okay. So I said to Sammy, because they had 2 original members, Sylvain and David Johansen, and me and Andy were the only original members of Hanoi. I said to Sammy, how can you call yourself the New York Dolls? You only got 2 original members. He was like, what? Oh, anyway, so yes, so Sammy came to me in 2009 when they played with the Dolls. They asked me to jam with them. I played the sax, Personality Crisis, and we did Hey Bo Diddley. I went to jam with them, and then Sammy said he'd like to work with me. I says, oh, it just so happens I'm restarting my solo career. So 2009, that summer, we started putting this band together, which we started officially in 2010, exactly 10 years ago, and that's the same band I have together now, with Steve Conte came on guitar and Carl Rockfist on drums. Now Rich Jones on guitar, from Ginger Wildheart to Dragon to Rich Jones, which now is the best lineup, and Sammy Alpha on bass. I have the same band now for 10 years, and the best band I could hope for. And I'm doing better records, according to most people, better records than ever. So what could be better in life?
And it all comes back to One Man Gang, right?
Yes, exactly. One Man Gang. That's the album.
Dude, just like we started the podcast way back when. There's the album, folks. Yeah. I know there's a lot of homework that you guys have to do. You need to go check out Bette Davis, Funk. Yeah. That was my first one. And then obviously the Demolition 23 album. But first,
and all those songs, One Man Gang and The Last Stranger Tokyo, Junk Planet has great lyrics, very timely. Yes, go ahead.
Man, no, at the end of the day, everyone's got to go check out One Man Gang. We haven't even had a chance to put up Michael's social media information because it's been going nonstop since we started. But there it is right on the screen. If you're listening to it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Stitcher or whatever, I need you guys to come on to YouTube official, subscribe to the channel because you'll get more shows like this. Obviously, there's going to have to be a part 3 at one point, but go check out Michael Monroe's official Instagram and Michael Monroe Official, at Michael Monroe on Twitter, and Michael Monroe on Facebook. Hey, Michael, again, a complete pleasure having you on. It's always great to have you on the show because I don't have to talk all that much. You do all that heavy lifting for me, and the crowd is thoroughly entertained. The chat room has been buzzing ever since the beginning of the show.
I probably busted my fucking guitar for this shit, man.
Oh man, it's Michael's birthday in just a couple days. So, folks, if anyone wants to get Michael something real nice, he will accept guitars. He does enjoy his health. He enjoys his happiness, but guitars are always welcome as well. Michael, anything else that you want to say to the good people in the chat room and everywhere else listening to the podcast?
I want to say to everybody, thank you ever so much. Thank you for your support, and I truly appreciate all you fans and friends out there. Without you, I would have no career. So, so that's why. Thank you so much for your support, all your comments and everything. That means the world to me, and so happy that we're connecting. And let's try and keep it together in this crazy stage. Look, I even made my own one-man gang mask. Look, check it out.
You were showing that to me, and you know what?
I made it out of paper. We don't have,
you can't buy those. You can't get. That's a one of a kind.
The only one there is. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Tell me. Yeah. Okay. So.
Hang on the line real quick. Thanks again for hanging out with us, everybody that's been listening to the live stream In the Trenches podcast. I've been your host, Ryan Roxie, but guess what? The man, the myth, you've met the legend, but now you got to actually hang out with the dude and all his instruments. Thank you very much, Michael Monroe, for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great. Let's do this again sometime.
We will definitely
stay away from everything I used to do and be careless, everybody. No, be careful and stay healthy and well and all that stuff. But yeah, and I love that. I gotta say that Alice Cooper song. My favorite part is that guitar solo. That whoop, whoop, and that guitar part. It sounds like the old albums. Did you play that part?
A little bit of a mistake. It's a little bit of a mistake.
That's why I knew it was. I figured it was. Some of the best things are mistakes like that.
Always.
So that was fantastic. I love that stuff. That's really cool. There was one instrument I wanted to show you, but I lost it.
What is it? Oh, save it for part 3 then. All right. Save the one more instrument for part 3. And we'll come on. We'll reconvene.
Yeah. So we got something to look forward to. Thank you.
Good one.
Thank you.
Hey, have a great one, folks. And Michael Monroe, go check out all the things that are Michael Monroe. And thanks for supporting the In the Trenches podcast. Thank you, Vic, for being the amazing producer you are. Hang out, Michael. And everyone out there in the chat, until next time, everyone out there listening, enjoy the ride.
Yeah, I love you all.
In the Trenches with Ryan Roxie.